Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylie. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
Welcome, friends, to this truly special episode of The Elite Life. I'm Trish, and with me, as always, is Kylie. And today, our very special guest is someone we hold very near and dear to our hearts, and I'm pumped about it.
This is probably going to be the loudest episode that we have ever recorded. So if you are sitting close to your radio, maybe just click that seat back just a couple notches. We had Women's History Month in March, so we kind of missed the boat on this one. But, dude, your house is haunted.
My house may be haunted. This could be a thing. It's only when we're in here. It
okay.
is. It's okay. Stay on track.
It's fine. The ghostie wants to be on the show. So we missed the boat on Women's History Month, but we wanted to bring you the inspirational story of a baby girl given up for adoption who grew up and overcame every single hurdle thrown in her way as she married the love of her life, raised 6+ children. I mean, you always had kids at your house.
So many kids.
So, and they were wonderful and crazy, right?
Wonderful and crazy.
Yeah, wonderful and crazy. So
a pillar of faith, our matriarch of our family, and everybody join us in welcoming Cherry Lou.
Yay! She goes by Grandma Cherry. Grandma.
Granny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that covers it.
Yeah. Say hi, Grandma.
Hi there, everybody.
I'm so excited you're here with us.
Well, I'm excited, but scared.
That's all right. Lots of our guests that come on are scared. But you relax after a while because we're just sitting and conversating.
We're just chit-chatting.
Yeah.
Definitely
That's
chit-chatting.
what I do to the lights.
They're excited you're here.
Yeah, so we're super excited. Like we said, Cherry is our grandma, and we've been wanting to get her on the show for what seems like forever, and now just seemed like the perfect time when women are getting a little bit of extra recognition and love for Women's History Month and Mother's Day coming up. And, you know, let's be honest, women far too infrequently get the spotlight, so we like to give them the spotlight here on our show and celebrate the gender who literally brings life in the world.
Right? All right, I'm super excited. So let's just jump in. Are you ready?
I guess.
Okay, so and when we were writing this outline, I realized that I've totally known you my whole life, but
that's how grandmas work.
But
Yeah.
I realized like there was a lot of things that like maybe like we haven't talked about or like learned from you. So my first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Oh yeah, I've never heard about grandma's childhood either. I don't feel like
Not
maybe
a lot.
maybe I did when I was little.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Oh.
What do you remember?
What's
I
your earliest
remember
memory?
Pretty much far back as about 4.5 years old.
Wow,
That's a long way back.
it is. I don't remember 4.5 years old.
No, we blocked it out.
Obviously, your 4.5 was better than ours.
Well, anyhow, I lived with alcoholic daddy after my mama died, and he remarried an alcoholic.
Oof.
And he happened to be stopped by the police because he had a bit too much to drink, but we were almost home.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of made her promise no drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. He was gone. So, yes, well, that didn't last too long. And as you say, I must have been as smart as I was then. I've lost it all now. But, I knew. She picked that bottle up and started drinking. So the next day, I got my little dog Sandy. He was a Cocker Spaniel.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived up in the middle of a peach orchard. I think it was a peach. And those old crookedy roads, dirt roads. And all those big boulders in them. But anyhow, down I went. And I don't know if that was Milford Road, it, or it was what we call maybe 59 now. That I don't recollect. It was just a big road. And I'm walking along. Sandy's going with me, and all of a sudden he's not going to go. After begging, I said, okay, then you go home. So I'm walking along.
Wait, so you sent your puppy home?
I sent my dog home. He wouldn't come any farther with me. And what was I going to do? I wasn't going to carry him. I was too little. So here comes this it was like a Model T of something. That's when you had them back in the day.
Yeah.
And he stopped, and he had two little boys in the back seat. And he said, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going into Milford to my daddy's friend's house. So he took me in, and I don't remember the name of the street, but I knew there was a drugstore there. And so when we got there, he gave me a nickel, and he said, you go get you an ice cream cone. That was back in the day, so you know how old I am, folks. Anyhow, so I did, and up the street, where it was, and I went to my daddy's friend's house. And when her husband came home, they waited. There was a policeman that lived next door to them, but he wasn't home from duty yet. And when he came home, well, of course, they had me over there playing with the kids. I never played with kids, never. I used to be in the bars with my parents. Never knew anything else but a beer garden.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just remember one time they parked out at Walled Lake. And I remember underneath the roller coaster, because they had me in there taking a nap. And from there, then the story where I already told you went on. But I do recall that. So that's just basically the only places I ever went was home, the beer garden, and then that one time to the Wall Lake Park.
Wow.
And of course, I had the little dog Sandy. I remember one time before I left home, my daddy was coming home from work, walking up through the orchard there. And I remember him stopping, and he said, my name was Shirley at that time. And he said, Shirley, don't move. I was standing by a tree. And I froze.
Yeah.
Well, he said, don't move. There's a snake right by you. So I froze, and he got me. My daddy saved me. I love me some daddy. And his name was Perry. And Spore, that was my maiden name, Shirley Spore. And anyhow, getting back to where I went, to his friend's house, because he hadn't gotten out of jail yet. And so I played with those kids. And that's the first time I ever had lemonade.
Wow.
And then he took me to the children's orphanage on Telegraph here. And I remember him taking me. He was very nice, but he took me in there, and oh dear, I could hear all the echoes in that building of the kids turning over in their bunks. It was all granite and everything.
Wow.
So, but anyhow, I got left there, and they took me to my bunk. And from there on, I played with kids out in the back, field and everything, swings, and there was a big fence. We were all fenced in, and on the other side of that fence were the boys.
Oh.
So they separated us, but
Yeah.
still I was, between 4, I wasn't quite 5 yet.
Wow.
And they had one year, they had a dollhouse out there to play in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they shut it down and locked it up, and they had Christmas toys. Well, some kids went and got in there and was looking around. Well, don't you know, oh, nosy me, I had to see what was going on. And they had left, and there I was.
Oh.
And here come a big old matron, or whatever you called her. And she had a belt.
Oh.
She was going to whip me, and I remember so distinctly turning around and telling her, "You're not going to whip me because I didn't do anything wrong. I just followed there." And she started coming. Man, I ran all the way to the very back by the railroad tracks that crossed Telegraph before Dixie. And she couldn't run after me fast enough, so I eventually came in.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so skinny, they were getting kind of worried about me because I was so skinny and I wasn't growing. But when you got served meals, I don't know whether I'd have gotten a second bowl of cereal or any extra helpings, but I never asked for one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty skinny.
Yeah.
And there was just various things that went on, and you could always hear in the big bathrooms, go in, brush your teeth and whatnot. They had a playroom downstairs. So when I was, I was about, what was that, 5.5, not quite 6. I was taken down to a room. Well, there was this lady there, and she called me over to sit on her lap and just talk to me and everything. And then, I was left to go to play again. So I guess there were other kids in there, so evidently she must have been looking, and she picked me. And so the next day, they called me in, and she told me she wanted to take me home with her. And so, well, I don't know.
Were you happy to go? Do you remember?
I don't know. I just went along with the plan. I don't know. I don't remember
Like, well, all right, here we go.
if I was ecstatic or not, because, I'd never done anything or been out in a car privately with anybody else. And so she took me directly down on Cass. But I don't. Where the old Packard agency was, right behind it was the railroad track. It's still there, but it was right there before you go under the bridge at Orchard Lake.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy sold Packards.
Oh.
Anyhow, we went into his office, and he was sitting there, and my mother, she adopted me,
Your new mama.
my new mama. Anyhow, and she said, "This is your daddy." And I walked right over to him and climbed up in his lap. And that made his day. Of
Yeah.
course, I was adopted then. I was always Daddy's girl. Because, remember, I was always Daddy's girl that clung to my daddy when I was 4, that I remember, And so from there on, we lived at 13 Porter Street, right across from the old high school, Pontiac High School. And nice big 2-story house.
Yeah.
And I get scared at night because I'm sleeping by myself and you could hear things. And that was the time that there was the kidnapping of, that child back, because I was born in 38.
Was it the Lindbergh?
The Lindbergh.
The Lindbergh baby?
The Lindbergh child was
Yep.
kidnapped, and it made me scared to death. And through the blinds, if I woke up or anything, I would see the tree limbs, and it scared me to death.
Aw.
They'd be moving,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I would wet the bed.
Aw.
Well, I did get in trouble for that.
Aw.
But I learned
Sometimes
not
you're
to.
like,
Yeah.
Do I take a whooping or do I get out of bed and maybe encounter that monster that's
It's
outside?
scary out there, man.
Yeah. I was scared to death to get out of there. I just hung in the bed. But she was a school teacher.
Yeah.
She taught at McCarroll School, and she was my 3rd grade teacher. Trust me, I was not the teacher's pet. If I got caught back there before, when class was just starting and wasn't in my seat, I was just like all the other kids. Come up, put your hand out, and you got a whack or 2 on the hand.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, you did back then. And but when I go home, I'd have school too.
Yeah.
I hated it. I never really liked school at all. But I went home and I was learning I had to look at the clock and learn how to tell time,
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember having to do it. I don't remember doing any house cleaning or anything like that. But my dad had property, like a double lot out on Walton Boulevard, just around the corner from Silver Lake Road, like 4 houses down. And he was the first builder to have a ranch home built in the county, Oakland County. Yeah, and it was nice. It was a nice home. So I lived at 2380 Walton Boulevard all my life. And growing up to high school, and in junior, it was in junior high. I was at Waterford Township, but there was a big building over there for the ones just going into the high school. Well, like I said, I didn't like school. Well, I started skipping because there was a horse barn right across, riding stable. And I go over there and ride this beautiful horse called Copper. So I was out there riding with some other kids and relaxed on him. I wasn't afraid of him. And some boys, my age or maybe a year older, came over and hung on the fence, threw a firecracker right under him. Well, he went one way and I went that way and tried to break my fall, and I broke my left wrist. My daddy wasn't happy with it.
So now we know where everybody got the rebellious streak. It was from Grandma.
Yes, and all
This is so unexpected.
I know, all
in my mind.
All this time, I've been blaming Papa this whole time.
Prim and proper Grandma who taught
Yes.
us all the best manners on everything.
And making a bed with a ruler. I remember that.
And she was skipping school and riding horses.
No, uh-oh.
I did.
Well,
I did. I was in the 8th grade and skipping school to go across the street to be with that horse.
Wow.
I totally would have done the same thing, though. I'm not even going to lie.
That's the grandma in you now, we're going to say. Oh, that's the Cherry Lou in you.
Oh, listen. We're going to take a quick pause because Grandma needs more coffee because I didn't give her enough to begin with. I want some more of this stuff that I found earlier. So we're going to hear from our sponsor and then come right back for some more amazing stories.
All right.
Do you know more than 80% of real estate agents fail and quit in their first year of business? MyStarsAcademy.com has set out to solve this problem by providing a convenient, expert-based training and coaching program for both agents and brokers. The Agent Accelerator program teaches agents everything they need to know to level up their business, have a constant flow of free leads, convert those leads into clients, and take those clients to the closing table and keep them coming back for more as repeat business. Our industry experts have years of proven success in the business and are here to share that gold through one-on-one coaching. This will help you achieve more structure and work-life balance. We will map you a plan you can follow, which will guide you through the steps to scale and grow in both your business and personal life. Don't be a statistic. Visit MyStarsAcademy.com and enroll today so you can get the success you deserve.
And we're back, friends. We are hearing the best stories from our grandma, our Grammy, our grandma, our granny,
Grandma Cherry.
Grandma Cherry.
Grandma Cherry.
We're learning so many awesome things about you. We're very excited. So, our next question was, what was kind of your vision for your future when you were younger? You talked about like now we're in the middle school time and the high school time. What'd you want to be when you grew up? Did you want kids, not want kids? You want to fly planes? You liked horses, we found out. Tell us more.
Oh, I loved animals. I always have. But in high school, you took an aptitude test.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of lets you know what line of
Work you might
work,
be good at.
yeah, work that I might want field I go into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine was music
Oh.
or medicine. Well, that meant veterinarian. And so I took Latin. Oh, what a trip that was.
I took Latin too.
Yeah, and I struggled. I got through it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was in high school and that. I think my favorite class, math wasn't bad except when it come to algebra.
Mm-hmm.
And this is up to my 84 years to this moment. Don't give me a story problem. Put it out in front of me and I'll do it for you. I cannot twist it around. That's what's the matter with my brain. But anyhow, I like that. And I had a, what do you call it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but you went in, you learned all kinds of things about worms and everything.
Oh,
and
like
Biology.
biology. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I liked biology. I got up to tell them all about the worms, and I just told them, they just, each segment in a worm, has their male and female, and that's how they would go. And I couldn't think of anything else, and I said, well, it's just a good, sexy worm. And so, but I did, and I was a heavy girl, always. I was fat. And, but I learned to come out of my shell. You see all these cliques in school? Well, I finally got tired of it. And I thought, the feeling like I'm just as good as they are.
Yeah.
So I'd just walk in the middle of them. And I got accepted,
There you go.
you know.
Shoot your shot, friends.
Yeah.
And I had the biggest crush on this football player. And anyhow, all the guys, I'd be in the different classes, and I'd come out of my shell. So they talk to me or tease me and blah, blah, blah. They liked me, as far as a friend. Well, if anybody remembers how long the halls were in Waterford Township, these guys would be at one end of the hall, and I'd be at biology class down here, and they would say, "Hey, Moose!" But that was their love thing for me. I never took it and they always did that. And they talked to me and were so good friends with me and that. And but I did join the GAA,
What's
Girls
that?
Athletic Association.
Okay.
So,
Did you play field hockey?
no. Yes, we did. I did with the stick.
Yeah.
And yes, I did. I also played basketball and all the other things the girls do. But I played basketball. I was a guard. We played Clarkston High School. I think we lost. I don't remember. I was a guard.
Yeah.
Of course, I was big and I was fairly tall, 5'7". So it was like I could guard most
Yeah.
Pretty
Ain't
well.
Nobody's getting around, Cherry Lou.
No.
But I was not, the best of that kind of stuff. But then going up into high school, I just went about, and my girlfriend, she wanted me to go on this blind date.
Was this
So-
Aunt Grace?
Huh?
Who? Your girlfriend who?
Oh, she's passed on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she a little bitty short thing. She was dating a Puerto Rican.
We know about them Puerto Ricans.
So I had the use of the car at that time, and I said, well, I was going over, I can't recall her name, but anyhow, so went over there.
For the blind date?
I did. She didn't know it. My daddy didn't know it. I had to do, and that was bad. I'm not recommending this to any of those kids. Sneak out. But I
No
did
sneaking
have
out.
the car, and at that time, and so I went over there, and I went. That's where I met my husband.
Aww.
Yeah, his name Salvador, and the Puerto Ricans or something else. Anyhow, we went out to Ted's on the old Ted's on Woodward, and of course he had his arm around me, and I'm scared to death. I'd never been on a date or with a guy, and so I was scared to death. But anyhow, I had a sweater and my blouse. Well, he just, was whatever, not to be malicious or to do anything. But he happened to unbutton my blouse by accident. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that. And so, but it was buttoned up. It wasn't like I was unbuttoned down here. And so that's where our dating started. on.
So Grandpa got fresh. Date one.
Date one.
Well, he didn't mean to, girl.
So on that date, like you guys were just having dinner and just like hanging out and stuff?
We were in the car. We had the Ted's. It's not.
Oh,
the
they
big,
brought it like roller skating out to your car, like you see. in
No,
the
it
movies?
wasn't roller skating.
Mm-hmm.
No, they came out and brought it to the car. So we had our hamburgers or whatever, you know. And then I went back to her house and I came home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that,
Did you get in trouble? Did you get caught?
Not yet.
Let the story continue.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I want to introduce him to my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he worked out in the fields. Most of them that came from Puerto Rico in the 50s. He came in over here in the United States. He was 19, he was 20. I think he just turned 20. And he worked on the farms in down by 4 Mile Road over in there down towards the airport.
Yeah.
And every day picking tomatoes in the fields out in the sun. Well, he had a beautiful color, but he got more color and more color from working, so he was pretty dark. And he came to the house and I introduced him. My mom and dad were polite and everything. So when he left, they sat down, tried to be as nice as they could to me, but they didn't want me dating him anymore. So later on, I figured it out because he was just too dark. And,
At that time, yeah.
At that
At
time.
that
Were
time-
things still segregated at that time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, still
Yeah,
segregation.
pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, Mom and Dad always had this black man named Willie.
Mm-hmm.
He did everything and anything for my dad and Mom. You know, he did everything
Helped
in the
around the
house,
house and-
whatever. And it ended up when I wasn't at home and married already, but they had him, like they had him take them in their car and take them to the airport when they were going to fly somewhere, and then he'd bring the car back home.
Mm-hmm.
Watch
You
the
know,
house
so-
and hang out. And
Yeah, but Willie was a wonderful guy, and of course, Mom had housekeepers come in. She was a teacher. Daddy owned the car dealership. She didn't have time, so she had the ladies come in and clean her house every week. And when they couldn't come, it's like, guess who got to clean the house?
was it you?
Voila! Oh,
So
Here
all
come
that,
the chores.
right? So all that talk about, well, I don't remember ever doing any type of chores.
Yeah, but then Grandma taught us how to do the chores. I remember Grandma's giving us lessons on this is how you properly clean a table with a washcloth.
Making the,
and-
I just
Yeah.
remember making the bed. I remember. So once they had that chat with you about like, hey, let's maybe not pursue this.
that's when I had to figure out
What you
how
were
to
gonna
get
do.
out to see him. Yeah, and I don't recommend this to anybody, but I did open my window and crawl out my window,
Ooh, buddy.
and then I'd sneak in the back door at night. So, but I mean that's the only way I got to see him, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And anyhow, I got through high school. I had this big girl. I found out she was trying to date my husband to be. He was just my boyfriend at the time.
Did you whoop her?
Not taking Granny's man.
Right. No.
And
That's my
oh,
Puerto
yeah.
Rican. Go get your
I
own.
walked straight up to her and I said, look, I said, you knock it off. You want to go to that parking lot across the street? I said, we'll see who's what's what. And I said,
That's
you
where we
meet
get it
me
from.
after you meet me after school. Well, she never met me after school.
Oh, okay.
I love this so much. I love this so much. This is so great.
Yeah,
Feisty, rambunctious. Like, now you know why we are the way that we are, though. Strong women raise strong women.
Amen.
And I'm telling you, well, one of my best friends, John Oakley, lived down the corner. Like we used to say when we were young kids, we all played together.
Yeah.
Gail Mitchell, Cheryl Lyons.
She's name dropping now.
Oh, yeah, Mary Jane Purtis, the Purtis grocery stores on Huron Street used to be. And which I see her now and then. I have her number, and shame on me. I should be calling her and Cheryl both. But John Oakley, we grew up together. We've always, and Mitchell, I called her Mitch. But anyhow, she lives in Washington State now. But we all hung out together all the time. And so John, I introduced him to his wife, which, so we used to date. So that's how I got out to see my girlfriend, my husband.
So wait, you told your parents that you were going over to your girlfriend's house?
Most of the time, yeah. And then when John and Janice, which is his wife, I introduced him to her, and they started dating. So I got to double date with them with Salvador.
Oh.
So we had a good time, but
you
we
did.
happened to go park one time.
Uh-oh.
Well, we went to pull out, and we got stuck.
Oh, no.
My car, I think Janice, I don't know if we met, whatever we did, because they thought I was picking up Janice. I don't remember if it was John's car, his dad's car, but I know I was in my car, my dad's car.
And you were in trouble.
Stuck. So John was in field and track, and he said when he lit out to go run to get somebody to come pull us out, he said Salvador kept right up with him. He told Janice, he said, wow, he kept right up with me.
He's a good runner.
Yeah, he must have been used to running. No, not really. And so anyhow, it ended up, and well, we dated for 2 years, and
The whole time you were dating him, your parents didn't find out?
oh yeah, they watched me like a hawk, but
Okay.
and I get in trouble once in a while, but
But they weren't going to stop your love.
no, they
Can't
didn't.
stop love.
No, but it was okay because I had Janice and John, and so that was great. So that's where it went from there, and I graduated from high school, and we got married in August. I left home. I left home. We had found an apartment, and we lived together for 2 weeks. And we went to our friends, and we finally got a marriage license. He kept going down and trying to get a marriage license and everything, well, we finally got it. And we went to our friend's house just a block away, another Puerto Rican. And we stood in the middle of their arch, and this is so funny because he was talking and the preacher. And he asked Salvador, do you take this woman to be your wife? And he said, yep.
Yep.
He never said yes, he said, yep. That blew my mind. So, we never had a honeymoon. We never had a honeymoon. We just went back home and I cooked dinner. I think it was goulash.
Love it. So we had goulash for our wedding dinner.
Wedding supper
Wedding supper.
was goulash.
Yep.
And we kind of know what happened after that.
Yeah, then what? Then you just made a bunch of babies.
What?
Oh,
Cindy was already in the oven.
oh man.
Oh.
But yeah, the apartment we had consisted of one bedroom, bed at one side and a couch the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, to me, the door wasn't any wider than that. I was a pretty big girl. But anyhow, I just barely made it in that door. That's how tiny that bathroom was.
Mm-hmm.
And the shower,
You got that big old belly.
huge.
Oh,
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. 5 months.
with the baby.
But anyhow, the kitchen was huge. So,
That's where
you
you
had
hang
to
out.
take the clothes, go out the door, and go down the steps and do the laundry and hang it all up. Oh, dear. Oh, my. Yeah. And then I ironed everything because my mother had me iron her underwear.
Oh.
I ironed it all, socks, everything, till I learned I didn't have to do that. And that was a long time.
Yeah.
But every time Salvador would get up in the morning to go to work, and when he left, I'd cry and I'd cry and I'd cry. And the landlady could hear me through the wall crying. She told me she was a massive lady, but nice. And she told me one day, she said, he has to go to work to get money. You shouldn't have to cry
Yeah.
and all that. So,
You just loved him so much you missed him when he left for work?
oh, I did.
Oh, that's the sweetest
Oh,
thing
I
I've ever
did.
That is.
And I'd stand at the window and watch about 5 o'clock. And when he didn't come in, or I'd hear an ambulance, would scare me to death. I keep thinking, oh my, yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I do the same thing to Ryan though. Like he'll be in the other room handling business and I'm like, I miss you. What are you doing? He's like, I'm handling business. I've been in here for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, but I miss you. What are you doing?
well, I do not do that, but
Yeah,
it's
you're
cool.
like, did I
do
see
love
Dave
Dave.
today? Did I see him? I love him. Where is he? What happened?
All right. So now let's fast forward a little bit. What was the dynamic like? So you guys had six children. So how did you handle 6 children? And then plus like you have 6 children, but then they're friends and the neighborhood and like I know you love to cook, and I remember when we were younger, my one memory I had, like, we were always in the kitchen, right?
Always.
The big giant kitchen.
Yes.
And I have this, like, clear as day memory of you having a giant black garbage bag that you made taco salad in. So you made food for armies, like giant pots of mac and cheese
Parties.
and beans and rice. And,
Parties and that.
yeah. So tell us about, like, how'd you handle all of that?
Had a kid, you mean?
Yeah, like life with all the
Yeah.
people.
Because that's a
you
lot
know,
going on without
yeah.
a Google Calendar. I will say that right now.
Right. And you were organized and put together
Your
and
house
always
was
had your
always
makeup
clean.
on. Yeah, how'd you do it? Tell
Well,
us
I
the
had to
trick.
look good for my husband. I was a big woman, and I never felt attractive at all. And of course, I wanted my hair combed and always in place, and I couldn't afford makeup much, but maybe a little lipstick or something. But anyhow, no, I've had people throughout my life say, "How can you handle all those kids?" And, and I just looked at him and I said, well, honey, if you got 6 kids, you got 6 kids. You love them and take care of them. That's all there is to it. What you can do otherwise, And,
You just do.
Yeah. Those boys. 3 boys and 3 girls, and God love them. Yep, and I was such a sucker. I'd ground one Oh, I'd say for I don't know how many days. It didn't take me long. I couldn't stand it. I'd let them off their crown, you know. But the boys would come in. They'd come in from school, and here they had these snakes in the spring.
Oh, Lord.
Baby snakes. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead, get it done. I wasn't afraid of snakes, only if they startled me.
Wait a minute. So they brought the snakes into the house.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Oh, the kids would have to go out of the house. I can't have snakes in my house.
No.
Well,
You and your
that's what
snake
I
pie.
was trying to do. Mama, look what we got. Well, hallelujah. So I said, let me go over there. So I picked up those baby snakes and I let them crawl in around my fingers and that. And after a minute or so, I said, okay, now let's take them back outside and let them loose.
Oh, my. That's how I have to
You are
do with
so
Kaya.
brave.
Yeah, we have to do that with Kaya. But you have to let them have those moments, like when your kid brings you something, whether you are pleased to see it or not, unless it's something super naughty, you know, you have to go like, oh, that is so amazing, and just like let them have that moment before
that
you're like,
was-
all right, get it out of my house now.
Yeah, I just didn't want them to think I was afraid of them, you know, and that. So if it had been a big one like that, I don't know what I'd have done. I said, well, you know, garter snakes I never was afraid of, but I just didn't want to ever be startled by a snake.
No, hard
I
pass
want to
on that.
see it first before it sees me.
So what do you think? We have a lot of moms that listen to the show. What are some things that motherhood taught you?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, my lands. It was hard to have patience,
Amen.
which you have to do. They got their paddlings. They did get their paddlings. But I don't know. You just got to love them. And I would suggest to sit down and talk with them and show them how much you love them. Because sometimes, see, I was never raised around little kids. And I had all of them. When I found out what cost it, I had no more kids. Told the doctor, and he asked me before then, and I said, okay. But I want to say my daddy loved me beyond all means. My mother loved me too, so much. But I just never got from my mother. I don't know how to explain it,
Like
but
nurturing. Yeah.
you need to sit down with your kids and individually, you know, call them over, tell them how much you love them and you're proud of them, as bad as they can be. You gotta do that, you know, and try to explain them you can't do this instead of losing control and whipping them or anything like that. That's what I learned a whole lot in life. I never had that many problems with the girls, you know.
Yeah.
Except one.
Though there's always, you got to be there for the one.
Right.
We constantly say that.
Oh, yes, and she had to be in the middle of the boys. We lived next to this little grocery store before we moved out to Waterford. And they had problems that come in there. And, you know, my kids were over at the grocery store all the time wanting something. I had I'd pay them, I'd charge, and I'd pay them at the end of the week if I needed to come short on something. So, and I mean, it was a little store, these little neighborhood ones. And one day, the owner told me, he said, oh my gosh, these kids have to stay out of the store. He said, the guy come in and they weren't going to pay, we were stealing.
Oh.
And he said, I had my gun there, but I couldn't pull it out because there's Cheryl right in the middle of everything, and the boys, at the counter and looking and watching. He said I couldn't do it, but it all ended up okay. But he said, could you get her not to come to the store so often?
Yeah.
And she'd follow the boys over there. Whatever the boys did, that was okay,
Well, I wonder where she got it from. Now we're hearing all these stories of you being a rebel.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I let them know that at that time.
She's like, these are secrets I am just revealing just now.
Yeah. Exclusive
Yeah.
interview.
Oh, so one of our questions were, when did you really start to go to church a lot? Because that was a big part of us growing up, was always coming to grandma's.
You stay the night on Saturday.
Yep,
you get
ride
on
the church bus
to Waterford Cathedral, run around the track at least 12 times.
Church
before you-
all day long until you fall asleep in the night church.
Yeah.
I always have this memory of being in the front row of the back of the church at night with you. And you would close your eyes to pray, and when you open them, the pastor was at the back to shake your hand, and I thought that he magically, while we were praying, disappeared from the front and reappeared
Instead of just
in the
walking
back instead of walking, because I was little, right? So I thought it was like God magic that, like, all right, we're gonna pray, and the pastor gets to disappear from up here and reappear back here.
Oh, wow.
so that he can shake your hand. That's what Jesus wanted.
Right. So did we seek Jesus because the kids were driving us crazy, or how did
Lord Jesus, I don't know what else to do.
What happened is I like to go to Florida. My son Jay, oldest son Jay, lived down there. And
Oh, wait a minute. That's your dad.
my dad? So you
yeah,
came to
your
Florida to see
daddy
me.
lived down there, had a lawn company, and your mom, of course your mom.
Yeah.
But we went down there, I think one Easter. Your Aunt Cindy, that's my oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, she and I went down, and she had Lena. Lena was 7 at the time. So we went down for Easter.
Uh-huh.
And you kids were little. I get, you were always the sweet pea. Daddy took you everywhere. If he had to go on the airplane for a trip or something, you were by everywhere he went. You went. He took you with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyhow, we got down there. That's kind of when I met Alana and Jacob. This is a trip. Alana, she had to go to bed at night, and they had to put a bungee cord on the door to keep her in. And just a little itty bitty thing. And you could see that door just, it was stretching, and you could see her trying to get out,
She was wild. She got kicked out of preschool.
Well, I have a few other grandchildren.
Great grandchildren.
She looked at you, Kylie. I don't know.
It skipped me. It hit my kids.
But anyhow, it was a grand time down there. But your dad he was just, what is it, the word I want? Just so full of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a bad boy. He was the baddest one I had. But for him, and he come in and he started testifying and that to us. My gosh, Cindy looked at me and I looked at her, and it's like that feeling that says, I want some of that.
Yeah.
But, the heart was there, but I never gave in to it. It was knocking. The Lord was saying, come on, girl.
He said, Jesus saved him. He can save you too.
Yeah, hello. So Cindy and I both looked at each other. And so we went to the Maranatha Church with him. It was the next day. And we went up to the altar. We got saved. And that night, we went back to be baptized.
Oh, that day.
Wow.
This was Easter. And so we got baptized. And of course, when you come up, you're bawling like a baby.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that Holy Spirit got into you. Wham! Once you gave your heart, your soul to the Lord Jesus, wham, does he put that into you. And
Yes.
oh my, you just have to get the strength and to carry on
Yeah.
and to keep it there. But anyhow, bawled like a baby, and Cindy cried, and poor Lena's 7 years old, he just standing there, you know. So on the way home, Lena said to Cindy, she said, Mom, she said, will this wash off?
Aww.
You know, and of course we told us how sweet. And while I was down there, I don't think your Uncle Jeff was down there yet, but when it wasn't that long afterwards, he said I was down there. I don't know if Aunt Gracie was there or not. That's my I call my lifetime friend, and y'all call her Aunt. The kids called her Aunt
Aunt
Grace.
Grace.
Yeah.
Anyhow, she and I went to Florida, and we just we had a wonderful time together, and you kids were getting a little older, and the one not there, but I don't recall what all we did there with your daddy, and you all, but little Jacob, he'd see you and Alana fussing. Carrying on, you trying to get her to behave. That wasn't her middle name, should have been Cheryl. But, and you too, you try to get her to do, because, I mean, at that time when this was going on, I picked you up every other weekend. When I got a payday, I drove school bus, and that was for 18 years, and then the warehouse was 3 years for the Pontiac School District. But every payday, I'd want to go pick you kids up. Because other than that, I didn't, and I didn't get to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you were fussing and trying to get them to get ready and get the room cleaned up and everything.
Sounds about right.
I'm the mini mom.
Just the third parent.
Precious little Jacob would just sit there with that sweet face of his, and he just sit there and watch you girls. Never said a word. And just watch every time he did that. Just watched you girls. And I think that's where he got so much of his he's so gentle and loving, and he's kind. I hear he's grown up, but I haven't seen the head of the house. And he's definitely the head of the house now. But anyhow, that's basically all it is. When I bring you kids home, and that's when you went to church. I drove the church van and picked up kids and everything. And actually, I tell everybody, I really thought my Tricia was going to be a missionary. I always said, that's my little missionary girl.
I mean, she is in some aspects.
Yeah,
for
that's,
sure.
that's why you guys got me on this podcast, so I can spread the word.
I know, but when she took off and went to college, that's what I thought she was going to turn out to be. Well, now she decided, and she ended up going into real estate like the elite. And so, but she's done so good, and I'm so proud of my girls.
Thank
Both
you.
of you, you're doing so good.
Oh,
We do all
My
right.
grandmas always loved their grandchildren. I don't care how bad you get, you still. I got one that's bad, and I love him to death. So it's one of those things grandmas do. And they're so proud of their grandchildren.
Well, we are so grateful for you and all you've taught us, and you've raised us so well. All of my favorite memories from my childhood are
We're
with
at
you.
your house and
Every
with you.
single one. And you were always so good about making sure, like, that we were at church camps, like all the fun experience I had. Like, I remember going to the church camp and having shaving cream fights and sledding and like so many cool things. And those were all things that you set up for us through the church and the youth group. And it just speaks volumes to the impact that one person can have on your life, because you were an amazing grandma. So that shaped a lot of our lives. And we're
your
grateful.
grandpa started going to church right after I did. I came home that Easter and we started church there at Waterford Cathedral. And we're there for years. And but Grandpa was right with me. Yes, and he worked with that church. Him and the preacher would get up on that dome, and I mean, he just worked himself to death. When we did move to Florida, to Naples, he did the same thing at that church. Work. I'd be working I worked on the beach for a big hotel.
Oh, yeah, I remember going to that
The
beach.
Regency.
Yes.
Heck yeah. She worked the grill. We got all the food.
Yes.
Felt fancy going
I
in there.
worked the countertop on all in the front, and I had Easy, the guy from Jamaica or wherever he was from, and
Was that your favorite job that you've had over all the years?
Oh, yeah. What's your favorite job?
Because you've done a lot of different things.
Oh, girls, I loved my job. I worked 18 years as a school bus driver. But when I got done, I mean, I loved it. I loved my kids and had a good rapport with them. I got whooped one time, tried to whoop me, but that didn't happen. That was high school kids.
Damn teenagers.
Oh, yeah. And, but I stood my ground, So, but when we were going to move to Florida, when I retired from the school, the warehouse, because I had transferred for the last 3 years, I said, it's time. And when I got out of the buses, I said, it's time for somebody else to enjoy these kids. And that's when we went to Florida. And we were there for 20-some years before we came back. And it just, then I said, let's go back. All my family was up here except for my daughter, Cheryl, and Bradley. Uncle Bradley, which is still there. You couldn't get him out of Florida for nothing. He's cold at 60 degrees.
Yeah, I know. I tried to, the last time he was here, I was like, so when are you guys moving up? All your whole families. He's like, no. No.
All right, let's ask Grandma the fun questions. We have 3 questions to wrap up with really quick, and they're fast ones. So if you could go back and tell 15-year-old you one thing, what would it be?
That's a good one.
15-year-old. Finish school.
Finish school. That's
oh,
a good
heavens,
one.
Yes. I always told them growing up, please finish school, graduate. You got that under your belt, because at that time, if you had a
high school degree.
High school, diploma that behind you, you know, you could get a job.
Yeah.
You could get a job. Nowadays, it's like better if you have a college for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tell them that. And, I really can't think of any. That's my thought.
Okay.
I like
You
it.
know.
That's a good one.
If you could be any animal,
That's my question.
which one would you choose?
If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Oh. I love animals so much. I love horses. And I love dogs. But I can't have animals anymore since I live with my daughter and my cat's gone. But right at the present time, I really would love to be able to go to the pound and go look at the cats and get a short-haired black cat, because that was the love of my life that I found down in Florida. Came to me, had kittens, brought them to the house during a hurricane, and but I just still can remember her jumping up on my bed at night, coming up behind my back, and just go, whoom, right against my back.
Just laying down for a snuggle.
Yep, and she would sit on my lap anytime I was in my rocking chair. She was right there on my lap with her paws up on the side of that cat was just all mine. I dearly
love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everything, Grandma. This has been absolutely amazing, and we're so grateful for all the wonderful stories you shared today. This was awesome.
This was
so much
very
fun.
enlightening.
We're going to have you back again.
Oh,
so be ready,
yes.
because this was awesome, and I want to hear more stories.
There's so much more to unpack. We didn't even get to ask all our questions. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad that you come back every week for fresh episodes. We post new episodes every Thursday, literally everywhere. But if you can go to YouTube and search our handle, Elite Life Podcast, hit that subscribe button, listen, like, and share the show. We just want to reach more people, connect with more people, because we live in such a crazy place. I feel like we could solve the world's problems if everybody would just come together and connect.
Yeah, be kind.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
See you next week.
Bye.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylie. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.